Welcome to State of the Offense, your unbiased coverage of your favorite team's offense, the Carolina Panthers. At this point of the year, in spite of a lot of roster turnover, I believe that Panthers fans should expect the offense to be much better going into the 2023 season. Last year, the Panthers finished 29th in total offense, 29th in passing, 10th in rushing, and 20th in scoring, which earned them a 7-10 record with no playoffs. In the skill positions, the Panthers are only returning backups from last year's team. Starters from last year will be backups now. New playmakers include free agent acquisitions Andy Dalton, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, and Hayden Hurst. In the draft, Panthers used their top two choices on number 1 overall pick, quarterback Bryce Young from Alabama, and the 39th overall pick in the second round, wide receiver Jonathan Mingo from Ole Miss. Most fantasy football shows will only mention skilled players, but at State of the Offense, we look at the entire offensive unit. We start in the trenches by analyzing the condition of the offensive line first. It all starts at the snap of the football. On the offensive line, the Panthers will bring back most of their group from last year, with the exceptions of starting right guard Austin Corbett, who tore an ACL in the season finale in 2022, and center Pat Elflein, who is still a free agent. The Panthers did draft former NC State guard Chandler Zavala in the 4th round to fill the gap. Ike Mekwonu started at left tackle as a rookie, played all the snaps, and graded out at a 78, which was good enough to be the 23rd rated left tackle in the league. Panthers have drafted well and developed their roster well, so I expect Mekwonu to improve in his second season. Left guard Brady Christensen is back after playing all the snaps. He graded at a 74, which ranked him as the number 15 left guard in the league. Christensen is entering his 3rd year as a Panther. He improved from a 70 rating as a rookie to a 74 in year 2. So year 3 should bode well for Christensen and the offensive line as a whole. Bradley Bozeman is back at the center position for his 6th season in Carolina. Bozeman rated at a 73 last year, which would place him in a range between 18 and 21 at the center position. Austin Corbett had a strong 2022 going until he tore his ACL in the last game of the season. He graded at an 80, which made him the 2nd best Panther offensive lineman and the number 12 right guard in the NFL. The Panthers drafted a former North Carolina State Wolfpack offensive lineman for the 2nd consecutive year, with Chandler Zavala at pick 114. Zavala has a good chance to start games early with the Corbett injury. In 2022, right tackle Taylor Moton played all the snaps and he graded as the Panthers' best offensive lineman with an 83 grade. Moton ranked as the number 6 right tackle in the game. The offensive line has quality talent and youth at the tackle positions, but the 3 interior offensive line positions are average and have some injury trouble right now. The Panthers averaged 4.6 yards per carry in the run game last year, and they only gave up 36 sacks in the passing game. The direction of the franchise has now changed because the Panthers have made a splash at the quarterback position. Trading up to get Bryce Young at number 1 was a stamp of approval on the rest of the Panthers roster. Many of the past few seasons' problems were rooted in poor quarterback play for the Panthers. Besides ranking 29th in yardage, Panthers quarterbacks combined for 16 passing touchdowns. That is less than 1 touchdown pass per game. Bryce Young is a franchise player. The only concern is that he is small. The strength and conditioning staff should be able to increase Young's bulk, and if all he needs to do is bulk up, that'll happen easily. If this guy is as smart as they say he is, he will avoid injuries by not placing himself in dangerous situations and taking unnecessary hits. Even if Bryce is not starting in week 1, Panthers fans should be confident in Andy Dalton. Dalton completed 66.7% of his passes in New Orleans last year and had 7.6 yards per attempt average, an 18-9 touchdown to interception ratio, and higher quarterback ratings than both Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield did last season. The The Panthers should expect a massive jump in quarterback efficiency with either Young or Dalton. Bryce Young is currently quarterback 19 in fantasy at player 154 overall, which makes him a 13th rounder. Andy Dalton is the quarterback 82 and no one is drafting him. Rookie quarterbacks rarely produce fantasy points for fantasy championship teams, so I'd probably prefer to get 2 other quarterbacks before I would draft Bryce Young in 2023. But if you do get him, and he's the day one starter in Charlotte, the 13th round is an excellent value for a player of Young's talent. The Panthers wide receivers core is drastically different now that DJ Moore was traded to the Chicago Bears. The Panthers never took advantage of how good a player Moore really was. He accounted for almost 28% of the passing targets in 2022. Unfortunately, he was a key piece for Chicago in the Bryce Young trade, so you have to give up what you have to, and if you believe in a quarterback prospect. The free agent signings of Adam Thielen and DJ Chark didn't make too much sense to me. At 32, is Adam Thielen that much better than what you already had on the roster? DJ Chark is a big fast guy who hasn't consistently produced in 3 years. The Panthers are much deeper at the position now, considering that they also drafted Jonathan Mingo in the 2nd round. All Terrace Marshall, Laviska Shenault, and Shi Smith needed was a quarterback better than Sam Darnold to show their talent. You have that now with Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. The good thing is that no one in the fantasy community is paying attention to Panthers wide receivers at all. DJ Chark is currently the wide receiver 45 on ESPN.com, picked 117 overall, and that would have him going in the 10th round. Adam Thielen is going at wide receiver 52 with the 142nd pick, which is a 12th rounder. Jonathan Mingo is currently the 3rd Panther receiver getting drafted as the 60th wide receiver with pick 164, which would make him a 14th round pick. In my opinion, this is all wrong. The current depth chart is number 1, Adam Thielen, number 2, DJ Chark, and number 3, Terrace Marshall. For 2023, I think that Marshall, Thielen, and Mingo are probably the 3 best wide receivers in that order. Chark has only played 28 games since his breakout season in 2019 in Jacksonville. He's a big, fast guy who has averaged 14.4 yards per catch in his career, but I would not draft DJ Chark at all this year, much less in the 10th round. Adam Thielen in the 12th round is reasonable, but I wouldn't be surprised if his numbers drop. This guy had Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball every year, a 65.9% passer, and Thielen's been declining the entire time. Thielen has not been a 1,000-yard receiver since 2018, and his yards per catch has dropped every year since 2019. He had some good touchdown seasons in 2020 and 2021, but that was also with Justin Jefferson on the other side. The 3rd wide receiver listed on the depth chart is 3rd-year player Terrace Marshall. He averaged 17.5 yards per catch last year and caught 59.5% of the balls thrown to him, playing with inaccurate passers like Baker Mayfield, a 57.8% passer, and Sam Darnold, a 58.6% passer, throwing him the ball. DJ Chark had Jared Goff throwing to him, a 65.1% passer. Chark had 52 passes thrown his way and caught 30 for 502 yards and a 16.7 yard per catch for a 57.6 completion rate. Last year, DJ Moore caught 53.3% of the passes thrown to him, and he averaged only 14.1 yards per reception. DJ Moore is going in the 6th round of fantasy drafts as the wide receiver 22. Terrace Marshall arguably was more efficient than DJ Moore, with the same offense, the same quarterbacks being much younger than DJ Moore and commanding a lot less attention. He was still more productive than DJ Chark with much worse quarterback play, and he's young and improving, while Adam Thielen has been dropping with a very accurate quarterback passing to him. Ask yourself, what would Terrace Marshall have done with a Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff throwing him the ball instead of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold? What would Thielen and Chark done with Mayfield and Darnold? The fact that Terrace Marshall is going undrafted right now is nuts. He's a recent 2nd round pick from LSU going into his 3rd season in the NFL as a 22-year-old with a massive quarterback upgrade, and there is no DJ Moore around for competition. Marshall was good enough as a 21-year-old for the Panthers to put him on the field and trade away Robbie Anderson. He was the number 2 option behind a Pro Bowl talent in DJ Moore, but he was more effective when the ball was thrown to him. Andy Dalton had a higher completion percentage than the Carolina group had last year. Bryce Young has drawn comparisons to Drew Brees for his accuracy. No matter who the quarterback is in Carolina, they will have more accurate deep ball thrower than what Terrace Marshall had last year. If you believe that the Panthers improved their passing game, you have to draft Terrace Marshall. If you think Jonathan Mingo is a better option in 2023 as a rookie than Terrace Marshall, they're both second-round picks by the Panthers, except Mingo had 861 yards receiving in college last year, while Terrace Marshall, in his third year in the NFL and finally getting on the field, has 490 yards receiving in the NFL with some pretty good numbers backing him up. Let the uninformed people draft Chark, Thielen, and Mingo, while you get the sleeper of the year in Terrace Marshall. The Panthers brought in veteran tight end Hayden Hurst from Cincinnati in free agency. Hurst is the most talented tight ends the Panthers have had in a few years, but he is 29 and he still hasn't broken out in fantasy as a former first-round draft pick. If you can't break out as a receiving tight end with Joe Burrow, who can you break out with? Hurst is currently the tight end 25 and he's a 15th rounder. Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble were unproductive when they didn't have Hurst ahead of them, so no tight end in Carolina is worth owning in fantasy in any format until further notice. Miles Sanders ended up getting the top running back free agency deal this spring. He is still young and he only has 739 career carries. He has a 5-yard per carry average for his career and he has the talent to catch the ball. Miles Sanders is currently the running back 23 on ESPN.com at the 64th overall position, which would put him in the 6th round. Chuba Hubbard is the 43rd running back picked and he's going at pick 143, which is a 12th round pick. I really like Miles Sanders' opportunity this season. Chuba Hubbard should not be a threat for his snaps. After Christian McCaffrey was traded away, D'Onta Foreman took the running back job. The Panthers let Foreman walk, and then they bring in a guy like Miles Sanders, who they like more than D'Onta Foreman. Carolina will give Miles Sanders the chance to perform in fantasy. Draft him in the 6th round all day long. In 2023, I trust Miles Sanders and Terrace Marshall the most for the Panthers. If Bryce Young has a great preseason and he is the day one starter, I trust a respectable fantasy season from Bryce Young as well. I would avoid Thielen, I would avoid Chark, I would avoid Mingo and Hurst this year. In Dynasty, I want every young player at quarterback, wide receiver, because I believe in Bryce Young in the long term. A year from now in 2024, we may be looking at the Bryce Young, Miles Sanders, Terrace Marshall, Jonathan Mingo group as one of the most exciting offensive units in the NFL. Frank Reich has been around the NFL for a while, and he is an upgrade as the head coach in Carolina. Bryce Young will be coached well, and he will pay dividends fairly early in his career. The defense is pretty solid, and even though as a Saints fan, I hate saying this, if Bryce Young is successful, the Panthers will become the gold standard in the NFC South. If you like today's coverage of the Carolina Panthers offense, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.